Afternoon, everybody. My name is Buddy. I'm from North Star Farm. We get a lot of questions about our watering system, and we use a nipple watering system that has evolved over 4 years. We've gone from something as antiquated as our first system here, running a 2-inch pipe with nipples that we picked up from Amazon and Tractor Supply, and transitioned into a different setup, and it's evolved again. But I'm going to go over a lot of parts. I'm going to go over a lot of pieces. So please bear with. You can fast forward and stop at areas that apply to you. This is going to go from your hose bib assembly all the way to the nipple system, through valves, buckets, and including the piping. The first I'm going to cover is the hose bib. Hose bibs are on houses, they're on standpipes, they're 5 foot in the ground, going into a well that allows them to be frost proof, and we'll cover freezing of this system a little bit later on, and how to freeze proof your system for, I'm going to call it, light freezing. Again, this is one of the hose bibs that we use. We use a full port Y because we've got potentially a lot of hoses, anywhere from 3 to 5 hoses that might be attached to this. And because of we're underneath the pines, got a lot of pine straw, and I want the ability to fight a running fire. So I, if at all possible, do not use gated Ys. If I've got to shut my system down to fix something, relocate something, I go all the way back to the hose bib stop in most cases. All right, so there's a Y. It doesn't have any stops on it. The next I'm going to cover is we're running water lines all over the place, and one of the lines that I've got is PEX buried underground, and so I'm going to be today, tomorrow, most likely it's started getting dark, do this tomorrow, is I'm going to cut my 3/4 inch water line and tap in this, and it is a 3/4 PEX fitting with a stainless steel band. I've been in building maintenance for many years, so I've got some expensive tools, some cheap tools, but anyway, goes into a full port ball valve to a fitting that is 3/4 to go to a hose. Now, so that's there. Here's your hose bib, so to speak, mocked up. Then you're going to have a section of garden hose. Now, what I've got is 2 different ways of doing your garden hose. We've been at this for some time, so we've got a lot of old garden hose that the ends are bad. We repair garden hose ends with stuff we can get at our local hardware store, Lowe's, Security Locks out of business now, McNair's, which is here local in town. For this particular setup, I've got an old hose, so I'm just going to trim up the end, shove the end over this hose barb. This is to go to a 1/2 inch pipe thread going to a 1/4 turn stop. This stop is something that would be underneath your kitchen sink and behind your toilet. In this case, this stop is going to go to a toilet tank fill valve. And I'm going to I've already drilled a hole in the bucket, so you guys don't have to sit through me drilling a hole, but it is something as easy as a garden hose stop, your toilet fill hose going into your bucket with the toilet float, automatic fills. And the neat thing about this is it is somewhat adjustable for height of the water column, and again, flow height. So that's the bucket. Now, I've already drilled a hole in the bucket, so you guys don't have to watch me drill a hole. But then there's this other handy dandy little tool. It's used for reaming the inside of a copper pipe out prior to soldering, and it works excellent for reaming the inside of PVC pipe also. And I also used it to trim up the inside of the hole in the bucket. It's something just as easy as just setting on there, going around, pulling off a little curly clue. Don't take too much because of your seal. You just want enough plastic off that your seal has not got any sharp edges. All right, so there's the bucket with the hole for the fill valve. The next part of the bucket system, here's the bucket that we're going to be installing, is the bulkhead fitting. Now, the bulkhead fitting comes in a lot of different shapes, sizes, and colors. You can again get them at Lowe's or your local hardware store, hopefully. Another place you can get them is, again, at Amazon. They're called a bulkhead fitting, although Lowe's on their package called it a threaded universal fitting. They usually come with a stop. I don't use those other than if they'll fit in the end of my pipe stuff that I'll get into. The thing that you guys need to know about the bulkhead fitting is the threads on the bulkhead fitting are backwards. They're not righty-tighty, they're lefty-tighty. So if you're trying to back it out, you're actually tightening it up. Now, the Amazon bulkhead fittings that we've gotten, here is the nut for the back of the bucket on the outside, a Teflon washer. What this Teflon washer does is it allows the nut to tighten up on the bottom of the bucket and not turn the fitting inside. The rubber washer goes on the other side of the bulkhead fitting to make the water seal inside the bucket. So remember, backwards, tighten it up, and thus don't leave your tools outside, they get rusty. Take your channel locks, tighten it up. You can reach inside the bucket and hold it still as you do that. Now, I've got two bulkhead fittings here. Don't need them for this particular operation because it's already in. You may not be able to get the right size for your hose bar. So what a lot of the plumbing stuff that I am using is 1/2 inch. Where's my stop at? The stop is threaded 1/2 inch. All the plumbing stuff that goes into it is 1/2 inch. You can get the adapter from Lowe's that is a garden hose female with a 1/2 inch pipe thread on the other side, and you have another option. This particular bulkhead fitting has got a brass adapter so that you can still use your 1/2 inch to 3/8 inch hose bar. Just another way of doing it. There's no right or wrong way. But anyhow. All right, so we've covered water to the bucket. Now this is water out of the bucket. You've got your hose barb on your stop. We picked up this hose from Amazon. It's black. I'm hoping that the light doesn't go through it to cause algae on the inside of the line. If it does algae up, I'm not going to be able to see it. That's not good. But the reason I got black is so the sunlight wouldn't go through it and create algae. Every once in a while, we put a touch of bleach in the bucket to kill any algae that we have in the bucket. So here's this bucket with the bulkhead fitting. It's the cheap Amazon bulkhead fitting. It does not have that Teflon washer that the one from Lowe's did. The Lowe's is the more proper bulkhead fitting, I believe, for this operation. but we're talking 15 bucks, 16 bucks versus something like $5. So I kind of sacrificed on it a little bit. All right, now we got the hose coming out of the bucket. The next thing that we're going to is the nipple system itself. As you see, I've got our original. I don't like this at all. The next version is about as bad as the first one. In fact, maybe a little worse. And then the third system that we're going to be doing is 1/2-inch pipe that's got a T on it. Now, the reason that we have evolved this system is this setup here was for our grow outs inside a coop. And we had the bucket about yay high above, and that was too much water pressure. We have a dirt floor inside the coop, so with our deep bedding, it just absolutely made a mud hole. So the majority of my nipple systems now are outside for the grow outs that can be outside and the adult birds. Don't like this. The birds roost on it. See the wires? I had the wires off on rebarred fence posts, steel fence posts. I have had 10-foot sections of this on T-posts, wired to T-posts, so I can adjust them up and down as the birds age in the pen. I've tried running wire across the top to keep the birds from roosting on it. Those little buggers, it doesn't matter. They're pushing the wire up. They're trying to balance on the wire, and you want to watch 10 foot of PVC pipe bend when you get an almost full-grown rooster deciding he's going to roost on it. Bad deal. Now, I'm going to get into why I don't like these. Well, I don't know if you can see it on here, but I have got Teflon tape on it. I have got the compression washer that comes with it. And on some of these, I've even got O-rings that I have stacked. Now on these ones outside. O-rings that I've stacked. And it's taken me an easy half hour, sometimes 45 minutes to go through all of my nipples, trying to get everything to stop dripping. And so went from the 2-inch down to the 1-inch, and then was like, what the heck can I do? Was on Amazon because I needed nipples and saw these tees. Amazon is not the only place that sells these. Hog Slap also does. This last batch of tees that I've got came from Hog Slap. They were about $2 a piece. It's a 1/2-inch by 1/2-inch by 1/8-inch threaded. Your threaded nipple screws right in, and you've got that washer on the bottom. Boom, sealed. Wait, that didn't take me 15 minutes to do that one nipple? Wow. So, saving a lot of time by going to this. Now, it's a 1/2-inch pipe. It's not 1 inch. We've got another coop that we invested quite heavily in, and there, it's a commercial system. It is super, super expensive. For us backyard people, ouch. Regulator, 40 feet of pipe. We're looking at about, I think it was $400 for the first 20-foot setup, and then another $200 just over for the second 20-foot of pipe. Now, each of these have got 15 nipples per. Here's the difference between the nipples. The difference between the nipples. This is a nipple that I think we got a package of 25 of them for like 12 or 16 bucks at Amazon. The flow rate is unknown. an absolutely unknown flow rate. Now, this particular nipple is $3 and it snaps on. So for the guys that are running the commercial chicken houses, this right here, this $3 nipple is the bomb, because all you got to do is untwist it, pop it out, slide another one up in, twist it, it's in place, throw this one away. It's chunk when you got 30,000 birds. $3, and you're walking this house every day looking for nipples that are stopped, nipples that aren't functioning. So anyway, I think where we're going, where we're headed in for our nipple systems that are in our coops, is going to be the expensive one, just so that we can regulate the height of the water, the nipple bar itself. The nipple bar has an aluminum rail on top of it, pulleys with ropes to raise and lower it easily. On the end of the pipes, you can get standpipes that have got 2 little beads in them that show the actual water column above the nipples. Now, when you get into these very expensive watering systems, they've actually got flow charts, different nipples with different flow rates. Different birds take different volumes of water and different pressure. Now, that is that. Put that back in here so I don't lose it. Oh, another problem that we had. Back when I first put our first 20 foot worth of nipple systems up, it was immediately time to start deworming. And let me tell you, we thought, woohoo, we'll make this super easy. We'll just mix the dewormer in the 5-gallon bucket and it'll get carried to the nipples. And don't do it. Oh my God. Please, 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 please. If you're putting anything in your bucket that is going to be an additive for your flock, whether it be vitamins, minerals, medication, whatever, it cannot have non-dissolved solids. These nipples plug up super, super, super easy. And when you undo that nipple, you want all the parts to drop out. This is how it functions properly. It's just got a steel pin, a ball, and a short pin. Short pin goes in, the ball goes in, and then this goes inside the nipple. If you get any solids, you've got to pull the base of the nipple out of the pipe and shove it out. If you try to do like what I did and use my handy dandy little pocket knife and go in there and pry it out, absolutely, you can sure get that puppy out of there, but you've damaged the seat and your flow rate's most likely going to go up. And maybe you made the hole that steel pin goes in a little bit smaller. Now it's going to bind up quicker. So I don't do that anymore. I pop the base out and push it out and flush it out. Now, how often do I have to do that? I'm checking my nipple system. When I say a nipple system, I'm talking from the bucket to the last nipple, once a day. And I am doing an entire nipple system check, hitting every nipple that I've got on the farm once a week, and take the tools along with crescent wrench, washers, an extra baggie of parts, and if they're not functioning, I'm fixing it, because the birds need water. And you glance across your farm and you see, oh, there's a bird out there on the nipple. Well, guess what? Your kid just turned the garden hose off to put on his garden hose, and now your bucket is bone dry, and the bird's out there going, I want water, I want water, I want water. So check it. And if it gets hot, we're here in North Carolina, it gets over 100 degrees, you might want to be checking your nipple system with the bucket to the nipples once or twice a day. Now, why the nipples over your bucket waterers? Your bucket waterers, you gotta rinse them off, rinse out the bottom tray, rinse out the inside of them. Yes, you can put a little bit of bleach to keep the slime down, but you're spending a lot of man time. One of our grow outs, we're using 3 1-gallon feeder, or one of these 1-gallon waterers, and we're filling them twice a day. We had another grow out pen that we had 7 gallons in. 7 gallons twice a day. And there were times where temperature would go up, they'd consume a little more water. I'd show up every 12 hours and they might be out. So you don't want your birds running out of water. Critical, critical, critical. They've got to have water, and especially when it's hot. So you've got a bunch of these gallon waters, 3-gallon waters. That's a lot of man time that you're spending twice or 3 times a day filling, getting water all over you, making mud, tracking your oocysts all over your farm on the bottom of your rubber boots. Yeah. So with the nipple system, the water is cleaner. The birds aren't in a bucket that somebody else has pooped in, drinking the oocysts and any other biocontaminant that the other birds have got. So the nipples, the nipple water, they're cleaner. The poop is down on the ground. And if they happen to be roosting on it, they're pooping over here. They're not pooping right on top of, not on top of this, unless you get that monkey that decides he's going to squat on it sideways, and that is super rare. So anyway, tools, I've got a PVC cutter. If I'm dealing with PEX, I use stainless steel rings that have got the crimps. I'm running 3 different crescent wrenches, 2 or 3 different pairs of channel locks. Okay, one thing I forgot, the end of the pipe. Now we're getting into winterization and cleaning. When you're going through and you're testing and you've got that nipple that just won't work, you can use your 6-inch crescent wrench to pop this loose. I take a dog dish along with me, set underneath it to catch any parts if they fall out, and then move down and move down and move down. That works the same when you're dealing with the 1/2-inch pipe nipple system. We're on a well, and we do get a little bit of fine particulate matter from the well. At this point, we do not have a water filter system. That's to come probably in another 6 months, and until then, I'm depending a lot on the bulkhead fitting. This bulkhead fitting sets up a quarter of an inch above the bottom of the bucket. The toilet stop has got a hose, and I try to have this hose so that the water comes out the bottom, and it also comes out the hose. I want this to be swirling so that the sediment stays more towards the middle of the bucket and isn't lifted. If the water, when it's filling, turbulates everything on the bottom, all it's got to do is lift it 1/4 of an inch, and it's down that hole, and hello, you got more maintenance to do. So this summer we will be putting a filter system on because it's a lot of man time.
Can you put the flow valve in the bucket?
Yep, sure can.
Just for the visual?
Yep. All right. Now, I've got a couple of things here I'm going to show you on this. Thank you for reminding me, Jen. This is a toilet fill hose, and there are times where your hose bib, your gated Y, where you would have the adapter going to this stop, right? Remember, this is not here. This is now a garden hose, female garden hose fitting to go onto the gated or onto the Y or the gated Y. So you're right here. Well, guess what? Your bucket's way over here, and you're just short. Can't make it. The angle's bad. It's going to be pulling your water around your toilet fill valve. Take another section of that polyvinyl fill hose for a faucet, whatever's cheaper. Get a compression union. These compression unions and the toilet stops come with brass, a brass washer, and a brass nut, including the toilet stop. Toilet stop comes with a brass nut and a brass washer. That brass washer is for the old copper pipe systems. When you're using the polyvinyl, you're going to use a Teflon washer, and usually these polyvinyl hoses when they come new, they've already got them on it. So you may not have to buy a 3-pack of them to do what you got to do. So you got the union. Here's your fill pipe hose. You're taking your handy dandy little tool, cut the end of it off. Take and slide your nut on, take and slide your washer on. And voila. You've extended it. Now, this goes to the bottom of your bucket, to your fill valve, wherever that went. The nut and everything's on this one, but you get the idea. Yep, thank you. So, now, how to install this in the bucket. It's pretty easy. I've got a Lennox hole saw kit here. I think I paid like 90 bucks for it. It might have been pre-COVID. Got it at Lowe's. So Lowe's, Home Depot. The hole saw bit that I got fits over the fits just over. This bit happens to be 1 1/8 inches. I don't have a 1-inch bit, and it just so happens it works, but barely. So you take your hole saw, 1 inch, 1 1/8 inches, but for you, whatever works, whatever fits around your bulkhead fitting, the threads on your bulkhead fitting, the threads on this, you could probably buy each one individually or as a set, however it works.
You want me to come over there to you?
No, I'll bring it.
Okay.
Yeah, why don't you come over here? It's not as cluttered with all the parts and stuff.
I'll run in this way.
Super easy.
There you go.
Super easy. They come with a rubber washer. Slide the rubber washer on. Put the hose on. Put it in your bucket. Take the flat side of the nut, and this is a righty-tighty. Try to get that rubber washer. Try to get that rubber washer completely down in the hole so that the flat of the washer makes a good seal. And spin it on. And then hand tight. When you get it to the field and it starts leaking, just tighten it up just a little bit more. You only want it as tight as it's going to work. No tighter. Now, inside the bucket is what it looks like. As you see, the hose has got a little bit of a curve to it to try to swirl the debris over in the center, because you don't want a lot of turbulation and any sediment that may be in your system getting into your nipple system. So now it's going to be 29 degrees tomorrow. What am I going to do to protect this system? Well, your hose bib, you disconnect the hose. Go ahead and step back over there, Jen.
Sorry, folks.
You disconnect your hose at your stop. Open up your stop a little bit so you've got a good steady stream of water. You're sacrificing water to keep your pipes from freezing. Not a lot of pipes can handle getting froze solid. Moving water takes a lot longer to freeze. Been in northern Minnesota, Alaska, and when in doubt, turn that kitchen faucet on. I don't know if you can see this from here. In a house, you don't need that much. But outside, where I'm running 200 feet of hose, I've got a lot more water running out because I've had the water in the edge of here build up and build up and build up because it was already so close to freezing by the time the water transitioned 200 feet in the garden hose. Now, some of my water line is buried, and I don't care. The amount of man time and the cost of my fittings, a little bit of electricity for my pumps, that's where I'm headed. So, disconnect the stop from the hose bib, or take your 6-inch crescent wrench and pop this nut off, or this is what I do. Here's your stop attached to your bucket. Disconnect your water right here, run this through the fence, and then I open up the stop until I've got a good flow of water coming out of the stop. And that prevents my hose bib all the way to this from freezing if you have enough water running through it. And depending upon how cold the freeze is, what your circumstances are. Because like I said, 200 foot of water line laying on top of the ground, 200 foot of water line buried, a lot of temperature difference between the two of them when it gets to the hose bib, to the stop. So experience, adjust it to what you think you need, and when in doubt, go out and open it up a little more. Here in Alaska, northern Minnesota, the colder part of the day was early in the morning. So you get up at 5:30, 6 o'clock, go out and double check that you've got flow at your hose bibs. Now, you disconnect the water from your bucket. This has got like an auto stop. It doesn't drain the water that's in your bucket. You get this thing freezing pretty close to solid, you're gonna bust your bucket. Might take a while, but it still will happen. So now what do? Well, if it's a light freeze, it's only gonna get down to 27 degrees. We go to our nipple system. Where's my short pipe?
Over here
With the
behind
short
me.
pipe. Hang on a second, I'll be right back.
insert Jeopardy theme.
Yeah, insert Jeopardy. I go to my nipple pipe system, and this could be this with half-inch pipe with the T. It could be the 1-inch pipe. Doesn't really matter. Go to the lowest end. Unscrew your nipple and drop it out, and let the entire system drain out the nipple. And that I've got one bucket that has got 4 5-foot sections on it with black polyvinyl hoses splicing from one run to the next run. So I'm running one bucket system in 4 pens. I've got square steel stock that supports the pipes. But anyway, getting back to the defreezing, pull your nipple out, pocket it, walk away. You've dealt with the hose bib, you've dealt with the bucket, you've dealt with your nipple system, and the majority of all the water is going to come out of the pipe. Now, the nipples do stick up inside. The nipples do stick up inside the pipe. If you're running a pipe and it's 1/8 of an inch, you've got that much water still in the bottom of your pipe. I haven't had a problem. 27 degrees, probably not going to be much of an issue because it's all going to be freezing up the sides. Now the deal is with this type, with the T's, I'm still popping, popping the end nipple. And what water is sitting in the nipples and in this little part, my experience here, 27 degrees, they've survived. Your situation may be different.
All right, so the bucket, when you are taking it outside, how are you installing that bucket?
How am I installing the bucket?
So once you have your bucket, now what do you do with it?
All right.
I figured you could show on the countertop there kind of how it's attached to your post.
I have a 4x4 post here. Looks white. This isn't a T anymore. This is a block of wood that I've either deck screwed or nailed to the 4x4 post.
So
The
just
bottom
use
of the
your
bucket
imagination, right?
sets on that block to the post. Now, see this edge of the bucket here? That edge sets directly on top. So when I screw this block of wood onto this post, I slide this block of wood so that the weight of the bucket is on the top of the post, slide this block up and screw it to the post. Now, I'm going to get into something else, and that is water pressure.
Now your bucket is the bands.
Oh, the bands.
Yeah, it won't stay there without bands.
Yeah. It's not going to just rest there. Thank you, Jen. We've got a lot of electrical fence wire. We use it for just about everything on the farm. Quarter mile, half mile roll goes pretty fast, it seems like. So here is the bucket on the post. I take a panhead screw and I screw it in about 2 inches above the bottom of the bucket and about 2 inches below this part of the top of the bucket. Panhead screw in 2 locations, 2 more locations over here. I take my electrical fence wire, wrap it around that panhead screw, around the bottom of the bucket, over to the panhead screw that's on the other side. 3 wraps around, sink those screws. Now, this bottom wire is still going to fall off. I take another piece of electrical fence wire over on the side, wrap it around the bottom, wrap it around the top, and I pull that over to the front so that the upper wire is helping to support the bottom wire from sliding down the bucket.
Okay,
Now,
cool.
this is a fixed bucket. The water pressure is only going to change in the nipples as this thing fills up and down. Now, as I have it sitting here, the water levels here your nipples are there, we're looking at almost 18 to maybe 2 feet worth of water column. A lot of my posts are
up
about
there.
this high, and we're on a hill, guys. We're on a hill, and I've got over 6 foot worth of water column going to these Amazon nipples. That's a lot of water, a lot of pressure. If you've got little peeps on that, you're going to drown those little guys because of the amount of water that's coming out the nipples. With the commercial system, we're running, I think, 6 to 18 inches worth of water, depending on their age. 6 inches of water column above the nipples. So that would be the bucket. The water level in the bucket only being 6 inches above the nipples. You want to raise the water column, you've got to raise the bucket. So again, rope and pulley system, and you can manipulate the water pressure going to your nipples. And I think that's it. I hope I've covered everything.
I can't think of anything else.
Sorry for it being kind of chaotic.
It's okay. I was wondering if you would talk about the regulator a little bit first, before we go. What does the regulator do?
All right.
Because we don't have one for the bucket system.
No,
but it does play into the bucket.
For our bucket systems, we're attached to the house water system, which is attached to our well. The house system that we've got, I think, is kicks on at like 38, shuts off at 45 pounds. There's adjusters on the top of the pressure switch that you can adjust your house pressure up and down with. We're on a well. This isn't city water, so you can manipulate the pressure. Now, house pressure, your sink, your faucets, that's what these toilet fill valves were designed for. Now, with the commercial system, they're running a regulator, and part of the reason that this whole system is like this and is so expensive, like I said, we paid almost 600 bucks for 40 foot worth of nipple system with the regulator, with the standpipes. We're planning on moving this system, adding more regulators on in different coops for our grow out system. So the regulator is designed to handle, I think, up to 300, 400, maybe 500 feet, somewhere between 300 and 500 feet worth of, it's 3/4 inch pipe with these snap-in nipples that I showed previously.
Yep.
This takes the 35, 45 pounds of house pressure that I have and drops it down to only be this much water column. When I first had the little guys in, this much water column. Now I'm up here, that much water column. So you're down here, and your bubbles, around your knees, a little bit lower. So as the birds get older and they need more water, you're bumping the volume up as you're raising raising your bar up.
So no drowned chicks.
So no drowned chicks.
And no water inside your coop.
There is a lot of studies out there with regards to how important watering systems are. These commercial guys, they've been doing this for quite some time. They're pros at it. And I want to get away from this stuff, what you see here. I want this stuff to go away. This is a lot of man time involved, as you can see with all of these small parts. The commercial system was a regulator, and it slid right on, no gluing necessary. The standpipe slid right in, no gluing necessary. Coupling the two pipes to make 20 feet, slid right in, no pressure, no gluing necessary. On and on and on. They're running an aluminum rail. It snaps, there's clips, and it snaps to the aluminum rail. The aluminum rail is just like a knife edge. The birds really don't want to set on it.
We could take a video of that too.
And we can take a video of that some other time. And talk about being pretty much hassle-free. All I've got to do is go in and put my hand on all the nipples as I'm walking through, just hit, go around to the outside of the coop. That's how mine is. The regulator is on the outside, so I've got to cover it with plastic to prevent it from freezing. Because yeah, here in North Carolina we do get it a little bit below, not like northern Minnesota, not like Alaska, not like some, anyway. So that's that.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, comment below.